What's this you stand in front of?
This is a little dedication that I did to my girl, Alma. I did this a little while back when we was going through some little rocky stuff, and it was like something that I just needed to come and get a peace of mind and get stress off my shoulders. And by the time I got a chance to bring her back to be with me through here to see me finish up on it, I gave her a little message to stay true-hearted. You know what I mean? Like stay kind-hearted, stay true. Like don't change regardless to whatever we go through. Stay the sweet person that you always was. And now here we are, like 2 years later or something, and we still doing it. So you know,
With a newborn.
with a newborn. And that's how real that is.
My name is Roderick Ferris. I write Roder169. My name actually comes from my name, Roderick, R-O-D-E-R-I-C-K. I just took the I-C-K off. I got to Roder through being Rod Ski. I was a breakdancer before.
I might not have been that great of a breakdancer and all that, you know, and as a way to get away from the street shit that I could have been getting into, I was focused on like, okay, well, here's the music, and let me go over here and strike up on these little cardboard boxes and draw some characters and some letters, anything that I could do to be in this circle as opposed to running around in the street getting into some other shit.
Writing kind of came when I started trying to talk to girls, and it wasn't cool being sweaty and funky, you know what I'm saying? So that was normal transition, I think, out here in LA for breakdancers to become graffiti artists. It was like the next level of hip-hop, early LA hip-hop.
By the time I came up off the porch and really started going out in the streets and pushing it, I would say I started hitting the trailer trucks that was parked in park lots up at Sears and wherever else in about 1984.
I started writing, I would say, 84.
Early 84. And alleys, you know, but mainly a lot of it was with one spray paint can where I would be trying to like do a whole piece, do letters, and nothing about coloring nothing in, just trying to put some shapes to some letters and a nice character, some type of presentation that stood out, and like a roll call of everybody. That was kind of like the whole thing, pushing that since like early 1984.
Most people that know me, I was more of a writer than tagging. I was real selective about where I tagged at. I was my prime spot when the RTD was by the door.
By 1985 is when I stepped into the LA River creeks around the area where you could, you know, be a little more obscure and get your writing on and painting on. So that's where I was painting in the creeks and trying to impress artists from, you know, other crews that was telling me that was the spots to hit. And then we was hitting like yards and tunnels like by about 1985. That's when we started getting around more like to the Pan Pacific, to Belmont, and even, you know, where we had our Jefferson yard. So that's what we had on this side of town. Back in the day, I was on some hard-hitting styles, hard-hitting characters, and hard-hitting hands. That's what they knew me for. Nigga wasn't playing in these streets.
Hanging out with a cat named Design 9 and you know, the way he looked at writing and your name, and so that was my way of kind of putting something more to my name, you know, than it just being my name. You know, I was like, I wanted my tag to look like art, and my books, and of course the few walls I did at that time.
So was you more influenced by New York or Los Angeles graffiti?
I would say I was influenced by both. I think early as a kid going, my grandmother and aunt, my great aunt were big Dodger fans, so we would go to Dodger Stadium, and on like the 110 where the 5 hits, a Chaz, Cholo, the Skulls. You know, and as a small kid, that's how long he was doing this. So as a small kid, I thought it was, I didn't know how he did it. I didn't understand like it was a stencil, or it might have been, I think it was straight brush then. But that was one of my earlier influences, and I would say would be LA. New York, of course, the influence grew once like subway art and hip hop, you know, kind of blew up, because I saw it, not knowing exactly the connection to it, you know. But I understood it, I guess, so it was just kind of cerebral. That's the only way I can say it was like a cerebral thing. It was like, you know, when they say you're meant to do certain things or meant to be part of something, or you know, because I have a god brother that was a pop locker, you know, late 70s pop locker. So when I went to New York and saw dudes getting out on the ground, it made sense because they had, you know, was it like electric boogaloo guys or, you know, poppers out there. So, you know, Soul Train connected a lot of dots for a lot of us too. So that was, I'll say that's my earlier stages, was influences were West Coast, but definitely East Coast, you know, the trains and stuff like that. You know, being a fan of Dondi. And Scheme and, you know, spending those summers in Brooklyn, I saw a lot of, I guess, early FC stuff. So like my style was kind of a little bit of the Bronx writers and the Brooklyn writers kind of meshed up together. And then of course LA, you know, LA gang graffiti was influential. You know what I mean? Seeing big block letters and especially on the east side, seeing like the Latino gangs and gangs using like old English letters, and 3D was attached to it, and you know, it made me pay attention to like your basic font that's on your car dealership, the sale sign. I almost wrote sale one time because I saw it everywhere and it was different ways of writing it. And I think this, you know, this involved with art as a young kid, drawing G-Force and Marvel comics. It just kind of you know, kind of just moved into one center, and that was graffiti, you know. Definitely soon. I can't, you know, he was a mentor for a moment, I would say, but he was an influence, I think, on everybody, because he was, you know, straight from, I believe, Harlem, and he brought, you know, New York graffiti to LA, and it was where you could walk up on it versus looking at the book, you know, looking at Subway Art. Like, if you knew where his pieces was rocking, you actually could go and stand next to it and try to figure out how he went about doing it. It was a model in a sense. So I would say him, Design 9, PJ, those guys like that. Minor on the west side, Jen on the east side, TNT crew, Clever, BFC crew. We were just talking about him a few minutes ago. Clever was a real big influence of mine because I would see his stuff as a baseball kid going to Southwest to the batting cage. You know, he rocked like, you know, walls in that area, you know what I'm saying? The Danny Bonner, yeah, Clever, he was a big influence, man. Like, the game would be different if that cat was here, at least here on the West Coast. Like, just ill, dude. Like, you know. I met Mark 7, winter of '86. Junior high school, had a black book. You know, I was real proud of it. I thought it was the freshest thing. And was popping off, and the classmate was like, I got a friend or a cousin or something like that, and he was like, he'll burn you. And I was like, all right, then tell him, you know, like, let's battle, you know. And with us not going to school together, you know, like, I wasn't going to give my book to this cat, to take to this cat. So I think Mark being a few years older, you know, he entrusted his cousin with his book. So I basically sent my book with this kid because he was real cool. And then Mark sent his book, and Mark 7 burned me. He came with this piece, I think at the time, I know he used to write Unique at the time. Long ass name. But I mean, you know, he rocked it well. And he had this piece with the Incredible Hulk, and it was like busting through the wall. And he got me, you know. I always say that I wasn't prepared. But yeah, we battled. And the cool thing about the battle was, like, you know, like, initially people would be salty, you know what I mean? But he was one of those first dudes, I would say, like, in the graffiti world to me that showed, like, sportsmanship. Like, you know, like, he shook my hand after the game. It's like, you know, what's up, man? That's cool. You know, like, let's link, you know, or, you know, whatever at the time, the word bond or whatever we was using at the time. And we eventually would just cross paths, you know what I'm saying? No internet, not even pagers at the time, or nothing like that. So we would just, generally, he lived in an area where I had a lot of family and friends at. Mom's had family and friends and stuff. So, you know, I would run into him at the Builders Emporium yard, you know, because my mom and uncles and aunts bowled at Midtown. And, you know, I'm into graffiti now, so video games are just, you know, they have no effect on life. So let me go across the street and hang out in this dark alleyway or whatever it was behind Builders Emporium and look at pieces for 2 or 3 hours and then hop the fence and go home or whatever. And me and Mark had run into each other there. We ran into each other at the RTA yard a lot. And at the same time, I was hanging out with another writer that was from the crew RTA that eventually became LTS, Made One. And he mentored me a little bit. And he kind of put me in like the direction of being in RTA, which I got down with towards the end before they went LTS.
Well, see, because it was a production. I mean, there are those that were influenced, you know, those of us that was even influenced by the subway art stuff that we seen in the books. But as far as being here in LA on our sector, you know, we was putting it down as art as we could, some top to bottom stuff. And it's interesting because that led into '87, which the Crenshaw Wall developed and even popped in more. So as far as a well put together production, it was just solid. You know, we got the Grim Reaper in there. We got the big ass Unhappy New Year burner piece, you know, that which was celebratory on that cause. And then at the same time, then you got the LTS with the little Bombo Day looking frogs and shit. So it was a pretty hidden production, and that was motivating for a lot of people to want to step their game up and hit more impactful like that.
What did LTS stand for?
Last to survive. We abbreviated in some cases saying last to serve, but last to survive. The whole idea of that was, you know, it was a lot of number crews as we was changing from RTA, Rapid Transit Artist, or RTBA, Rapid Transit Bomber Artist. And that name was influenced off of the buses and whatnot, and the whole idea of fast moving trains and buses. Once we was stepping our game up to coming with a number crew thing, as there were many number crews starting to develop, although the East Coast had theirs, and they had theirs under different pretenses. On the West Coast, we had K2S, which was Kill to Succeed, powerful names. You had the Second to Nuns, Second to Nuns, you know, but what was that? Sky and then was DTK 5, but that was because they had 5 members. But you know what I mean? Everyone's number thing was significant in their own realm. There was like little 2 crews. I remember when 2GC was one me and my boy Nick made up called Together We Chill. Eventually that became a whole nother crew of TWC, which was Together We Chill. But bringing it back to the LTS, that whole thing was just like the disturbing piece. The LTS was last to serve, last to survive. We're gonna survive regardless how we come out of this situation. So that's what that was, last to survive.
Do you remember the concept of disturbing the peace?
Disturbing the peace? Yeah, I mean, the concept in a sense was getting in the ruckus, getting into a little bit of anything. The members that was in it, aside from like developing our burning levels, you know, to rock like that, we was like thugging. We was thugging, and the people around it, boy, KMC kept me going. Like my boy was down, and so we would motivate some of the younger homies, Viewer and Ruler, like, come on. I think Rink was on the edge of it, but we'd be like, come on, you gotta do this, whether we was jacking people for their shit, you know what I mean, in retrospect, whether we was jacking people for their shit, going out on night runs jacking, or whether we was jacking people for their paint, or whether we was, you know, it was always some kind of way to smash. There was street hustle involved, you know what I mean? We didn't go too deep into how, because we was just making the money. But it was a connect between 3 or 4 different neighborhoods, and we was working across the lines when those neighborhoods were developing to not get along, you know what I mean? We was a connection of cats that was still doing shit and still fucking with each other's homies. So that's what that was. DTP, disturbing the peace. Yep. Hell yeah, that was some shit. We was. It's funny because like as we was developing for the LTS, like a pocket of LTS, and most of them was brothers. So there was a Soul King alliance in that. But we was like the muscle. We was like, if something happened, we was going to look for the motherfuckers. Whoever dissed, whoever was talking shit, they was going to liable to see us. And it was KMC and Mark 7 always showing up. Niggas was like looking out for us. So yeah, we was on some other
shit. Towards the end of my writing career, so Made One was influenced, and him and Mark had a relationship too. They knew each other, being in the same group, and they came up with Soul Kings. I don't know who started first. I want to say Made started Soul Kings in a sense, and Sane being Latino descent. He, at the time, we definitely know about the Chicago gang, Latin Kings. Make sure there's no affiliation there. Latin Kings, so all the black kids in RTA, the Soul Kings. And then I think later on they were like some white cats, and they were Ivory Dukes or something like that. That was after I was gone. But yeah, Made put me down with Soul Kings. And that kind of like put me in the care of Mark 7. Made, I think, was going off to college to play baseball or something like that. So Mark was kind of not just a mentor, he was like a big brother in a sense. He was wiser than me in a lot of aspects. You know what I'm saying? I was just a wild kid. He was like, hey man, slow up. He was real good at making me really aware of my surroundings, not just in graffiti but just in general. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like where we met, through battling and then befriending each other, and he mentored me a little bit. He was a mentor that would like, okay, I'm gonna tell you something and then you figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Which was dope. You know what I'm saying? Because I had mentors that hovered a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Back off, man. Like, I got my own thing now. But yeah, Mark 7 is very important dude, I think, to not just the graph world when it comes to Los Angeles, which he's very important to that, but also like the rap scene, hip hop in general. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's crossed paths with a lot of different writers, a lot of different MCs, like even dancers, me being a break dancer. So, there's just a big connection there with him that I have. And I stopped writing in, like I said, 88, and I started back in 2012. I was a little disgruntled with the 90s scene, so I didn't get back into it. A few times I thought about jumping back in, and it just, was, everywhere is tribal, especially Los Angeles. So it was like, for me, graffiti was like associated with like hip hop, the opposite of what LA hood life was like, gangs, you know what I'm saying? So that was like, breaking and graffiti was like my past in the early 80s, like to walk in certain neighborhoods. Oh, that's a little dude that break. Oh, that's a little dude that do graffiti. So he can wear red or blue today, like that was my past. And then when I saw like the graph world kind of like become like this gang kind of culture, that kept me from doing it, of course. And then, you get older, and the farther you away from certain things, you just don't do it. Real quick story how I got back in 2012, but this has solidified pretty much who I am. I lost a daughter to crib death, and I've coached high school basketball at this point in time for probably 15 years, and found myself in a daze coaching games. And I had my godmother tell me, she said, you're gonna go crazy if you don't express yourself through some form of art. And she's like, unfortunately, this vehicle, coaching, has been your canvas, but it can't be your canvas to get you to where you need to be. And one day I was leaving my mom's house off of Vermont Gage, went up Slauson for whatever reason, and saw Cre8 and Mark 7 doing a piece at the Slauson yard, RTN yard. And, not seeing this cat for maybe at the time, like 8 or 9 years. Cre8 would slide by my mom's house, was advocate for 20 years to get me to do graffiti again, but I just wouldn't do it until this point. And I pulled over, and Mark greeted me in a way like not just, hey brother, this is my boy from back in the old school. Like a lot of things are about to happen, and you're important in LA culture and hip hop and history.
It's me and Roder from my old school sophisticated crime artist did the letters. I did the character. That's one of my young students that I taught. His name is Mecca. I met him when he was 14. Now he in his mid-20s. He's killing it. He busting it out. This the homie Shirt King Fave from New York. He was hitting the subways in the 70s. You know what I'm saying? Now he out here in LA. You know what I'm saying? He actually, that's Henry Evil's cousin right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's from the New York Shirt Kings. Matter of fact, he's the one that was airbrushing a lot of people's Public Enemy's clothes when airbrushing was heavy. He's the one who was doing all the airbrushing on their clothes. Him and his homies.
Man, what's this right here?
This was another good day we got out here. Me and the KTEs, my boy Mask, he's with Krylon Tribe, and he's also with RTN Rockin' the Nation. We came out here, we had a ball, man. This is like a vacation day. He brought his old school partner Zeb out. So we was all out here just fucking having, look at the colors in it. You can kind of tell, man. We was bringing life alive with some vibrant colors and shit. That green is very productive. That's fertility right there. So we went in and threw all them shocking colors on there. And I brought that Soul King twist, hit it with that funk. We kept that shit popping, man. This shit really do stuff for people when they walk by and they depressed. You got homeless people that live through here. People come and tell us all the time, thank you. Thank you for putting this shit. This shit light us up. We feel good when we see y'all art. So that's what we do, man.
You know what? The beautiful thing is, although like Cre8, he was in a sense, Cre8 was like the one who came behind us, and he knew what to do. Maybe it's because he heard from us. Maybe because it was in his heart or his purpose for being here on the earth. But he came behind where certain of us couldn't. Like soon, now we good. But back in the day, his boy J. Cool introduced us. He flossed me like, yeah. So where I couldn't make that connection with him, or let's say it was somebody from West Coast artists, like I had to battle PJ. I wanted to be cool PJ, but PJ and West Coast politics set me off I was all set in the wrong direction because of the shit that happened with me in Design 9 and with Tane. So from there, I couldn't really be cool. Like we had this standoffish shit, So Cre8 come behind. But here, Cre8 always wanted to live this shit, learn as much as he could. He didn't give up. The way that the cats turned their shoulders on us, they gave information to him, and he's around to tell the story. It's important for these stories to come out in any and every way that they can, because just like any other culture or shit, like with the rock music, and we starting to see it happen with hip hop music, all that shit starts to develop into a different picture of who was the innovators and who was the creators of it. And then you start to lose, just like history, you start to lose who the fuck really was building this shit, and whose creativity was behind a lot of the inspiration behind a lot of shit. So that's why it's important to have it documented and get it out the best way possible.
Whatever it is you want to do in this lifetime, man, you can do it. A lot of people say, well, man, it's hard, Cre8. I be trying, man. You gotta keep pushing. Ain't nothing gonna come easy like microwavable today. There are certain things now that is microwavable, but it's like in terms of making it happen quick. But let me tell you, man, if it comes too quick and so easy, you won't respect it. You won't value it. I learned this through time, man. Like I value and respect when things is a process. You know, now sometimes you gotta put some fire under some stuff and make it happen though. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that's what we've been talking about throughout this interview. You know, Mark 7, he had fire under him, man. And Mark 7 was out there putting in work. You know, I had fire underneath me. I'm out there putting in work. Nipsey had fire underneath him. He out there putting in his music. He put in work. You know, and the rest of the people you see in this world of making things happen. You know what I'm saying? You making it happen with your filming and you doing something that a lot of people ain't even, to my knowledge, ain't covering. You know what I'm saying? Like, on some real talk. Like, you covering the essence of the street culture of what gang life is all about. See, because some people just see it on the surface or look at the thugs and the hoodlum, but it's something behind everything, man. That it's a puzzle piece that tells a big story to a big picture, and people have to understand that. You know what I'm saying? Like, where do all this inspiration come from? What drives us on the daily? Like, I don't have a regular 9 to 5 gig. What drives me? Survival drives me. I gotta survive. I gotta make money. I gotta do what I gotta do. I gotta have a certain powerful mindset. And even though I came through obstacles, your mind is so damn powerful to the point to where this is what I want to tell the viewers right now. Your mind is so powerful, man. It can make you or break you. And that's connected to your soul and spirit. It can either make you or break you if you let it make you fold or make you stand strong, man. And I ain't raised that way, man. I'm a different breed. I was made to stand strong and put in work, and you know, and my career and longevity shows it. So on that note, I'm the one and only grand, incredible Mr. King Cre8 from Los Angeles, California, rocking the nation crew, last to survive, West Coast artists, the magnificent team, and I want to say peace out.